The crossover is off and rolling. The first one of 2025. A very happy new year to you, Mike Bianchi.
Happy New Year to Brandon Kravitz and In the Zone. I look forward to our little crossover segments. I read your little, by the way, real quick, I read your post you put out on social media over the weekend about how you got your start in radio and, you know, sort of, worked your tail off to get where you are today. And I just wanted to say congratulations to you, Brandon Kravitz, on how far you've come, more than anybody I've ever seen in the radio business.
Wow.
And we all know that the radio business doesn't pay a whole lot to the up and comers, but you went the extra mile more than anybody I've ever seen in radio.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for saying that and for the support that you've given me over the years. I don't know where I would be if not for the influence of working with you.
You'd be making a lot more money doing something else.
I can tell you I was making a lot more money before I started this, but now I'm in a good spot. I mean, I'm raising a child. I have a nice house. I have a car that's pretty decent.
Absolutely.
I look around all of a sudden. This is not me continuing to pat myself on the back. I get very reflective at the end of the year, but it is amazing. And for anybody that's thinking about doing this, just know it takes a long, long time to get to this point. I never thought I would be looking around at all the things that I now have just on doing this job, because when it first started, it paid me $0.
Right.
And I don't even know how I survived, honestly, but I made it to this point, and I'm far from wealthy, but I feel pretty comfortable, and to be able to reflect on that and all of the people like yourself that have supported me along the way, it's really cool. And I think that's what that's what the new year is all about. Whether you're a resolution setter or not, I think the important thing is to just reflect on what the last year has been and what's led you to this point. I'm fortunate that I get to set goals that involve this sort of line of work that I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into.
All right, I've got a question. Let me get it started. You ready?
Please.
All right, so I was absolutely shocked that Saquon Barkley is not going to play this week against the pathetic Giants and set the all-time single-season rushing record that stood for 40 freaking years that Eric Dickerson has held. I cannot disagree with this decision more. By Nick Sirianni, by Saquon Barkley. Why would you not want to etch your name in the NFL history books with one of the great records in NFL history?
And not just to do it against the New York Giants, which makes it even sweeter, like 10 times sweeter. I don't get it. And if I were Nick Sirianni, I understand wanting to keep your players healthy. Obviously, you earn nothing by winning this football game. So the mindset, I understand, but this is a moment that you can't recreate, that you etch your name into the history books of the NFL. And if I was Nick Sirianni, I would look to Saquon and say, this is not my decision. It is not my responsibility to hold your legacy in my hand. I have to do what's best for the team, but this is a legacy moment for you. You tell me what you want to do, and we're going to go with your answer. That's the way that this should be handled. Who the hell is Nick Sirianni to decide that Saquon Barkley doesn't get this record? The only reason you have the number 2 seed in the NFC is because of Saquon Barkley to begin with. So this should have been on Saquon, and I'm a little surprised that he hasn't pushed back more. I watched the clip of him answering the question, and he seemed like he wanted to play, but he didn't really push for it. I'm a little surprised by that.
Plus, he could break the record in a quarter and a half versus the Giants, and boom, he's out of the game.
I mean, it would be a lock. Like, all he needs is 101 yards. It definitely wouldn't take him 4 quarters, and the second he gets it, take him out of the game. I think it sucks the fun out of the sport, and I was really disappointed to see that as well. A million different games that we've watched over the time that we were off. You worked a few more dates than I did the last couple of days. Credit to you and Kelly Velez. Right. Tons of moments spanning multiple weeks. So I'm really going to put your mind to the test here, Mike. And you're probably going to groan when I ask you this because you're really going to have to dig deep. What has been your favorite moment so far of the bowl season?
Favorite moment of the bowl season.
That was the groan that I was expecting.
Well, do the college football playoffs count?
I think so. We're
Well,
playing them at
then
both
I don't have to
sites
think
now.
that far. I don't have, yesterday, the game, the Arizona State game was incredible. That to me, that's the best college foot. That's the most excited I've been in a college football game, not involving one of our teams that I have been in a long time. I'm at Arizona State, the ultimate underdog facing big bad Texas from the SEC. Texas has this vaunted defense. Everybody expected Arizona State to get blown out. And I thought Arizona State was the better team yesterday. And the fact that they lost the game because Texas comes through on a 4th and 13 play on a 28-yard touchdown pass from Quinn Ewers to Golden. Phenomenal play, but I just thought that game yesterday was incredible.
I could watch Cam Scattaboo play football all day long.
Right.
That guy is so much fun. I regret not watching more Arizona State football. That's all I could think as I'm watching this game. I really, really missed the boat on watching the Sun Devils play football this year. That's a fun one. I really enjoyed watching Cam Ward decide that he was only going to play 2 quarters of football at the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Wasn't that a good time? Really could have told me about that before I put a bet on Miami minus 3.5. Thanks so much, Cam. You cost me and thousands of other people that chose to watch the stupid Pop-Tarts Bowl however much money you choose to bet on.
Hey,
sports.
But you got
Disgusting
to see
move.
You got to see Sebastian Ibis eat the Pop-Tarts mascot.
I don't care. I am abstaining from Pop-Tarts for the remainder of 2025. My resolution.
Wow. But seriously, though, college football is big business. There is gambling involved. There's all this interest in college football. I do think Mario Cristobal owed an explanation to people after the game as to why.
He owed an explanation before the game, Mike. That was the problem. If you want to play 2 quarters, that's fine. Players opt out of bowl games entirely. How can I be too hard on a guy for saying, I want to play, I'd like to break this FBS record real quick, and then I'm going to park it? Say it. Just tell us.
Yeah.
There are people that spend money to go to these games, and maybe that dollar amount would change if your star quarterback was only going to play for 2 quarters. There are people like me, a lot of them. If you're watching the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Mike, you're either a Hurricanes fan, an Iowa State fan, or you're betting on it. That's it. That's the population. And everybody is 2 out of 3 of that group is pissed off that Cam Ward only played 2 quarters.
Good point.
I don't like it. I wish there was a little more transparency. That's all. You want to play 2 quarters, play 2 quarters, but that kind of thing should be announced ahead of time.
All right, so you're on the Orlando Magic radio broadcast team. My final question for you: the Magic obviously injured this season with Paolo and Franz, and now Mo Wagner, who's out for the year. I wrote a column the other day. Jamahl Mosley, because of what the Magic have done thus far, should be the clear front runner for Coach of the Year, winning games without all of these players. I got some pushback on that, specifically from, Cleveland Cavaliers fans who think Kenny Atkinson should be Coach of the Year. What do you think?
I think Coach of the Year should go to the coach that's winning games and also is optimizing the roster that is in front of them. And I don't think there's anybody in the NBA that's doing that better and more impressively than Jamahl Mosley. The game against Detroit. So you had, mind you, they lost the game, but still, this is just an example of what Jamahl Mosley has been working with, and sometimes it even looks uglier than this. There was a group on the floor that took an 18-point deficit all the way down to 3 before they ran out of juice. And Jaden Ivey got hurt, and it felt like the Pistons were playing a little more inspired after that for their brother. Jet Howard, Caleb Houston, Wendell Carter Jr., Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and Jalen Suggs. That was the group that was bringing you back. We've seen epic comebacks in the last week that involved Trevelin Queen, who was involved in a G League showcase recently. Come on. Kenny Atkinson's doing a tremendous job. Joe Mazzulla's doing a great job. Mark Dagenalt has the Thunder atop the Western Conference. There are plenty of really good coaches in the NBA, but nobody is making more chicken salad out of chicken scratch than Jamahl Mosley. And isn't that what Coach of the Year is all about? You get no pushback from me.
Okay.
Homer take or not, you get no pushback from me. Mike, I'm going to wrap with this question. This recent pair of games where it looks like Tua's not going to play this weekend. He didn't play the prior weekend, and the Dolphins hadn't been technically eliminated from the playoffs yet. You need this guy to be out there. Of all of the stains that is now on Tua's resume, and maybe it doesn't matter because he got paid already, is this perhaps the worst of all of it, where you have the concussions, you have the poor record against teams that are above 500, but not being available at the end of the season when your team is trying to make a playoff push because of a nagging hip injury? Is this the worst of all of it, or am I overreacting?
If the Dolphins were a better team, first of all, the Dolphins, in my opinion, their body of work does not make them a playoff team. I don't think they deserve to be in the playoffs, first of all. But yeah, if they win and the Broncos lose this weekend, they would be in the playoffs. Is this the worst stain on Tua's record? I don't. It's the worst stain on the Dolphins' record, because to me, when the Dolphins signed Tua to that huge deal over the offseason, when a lot of people said, what are you doing? This guy's a health risk. He's got concussion issues. He's got other injury issues. He had the hip issue coming out of college. That's what a lot of people, or why a lot of people thought they shouldn't sign him to a long-term deal, and they should wait until his contract actually expired after this season. Let me ask you this as a Dolphins fan. If Tua were up for a new contract now, would he get the huge offer that they gave him last year? I don't think so.
No, and I think that this is the reason why. It's availability. The concussion thing is unfortunate, and he's dealt with that this season. Again, he didn't last year prior to signing that new deal, so he thought maybe he had gotten past the worst of it. So you know that now. And now the hip issue, which you mentioned, this isn't new. This is something that's nagging from back in college. No, I don't think so. I think of all the new deals that we've seen in football at the quarterback position, this is right now looking like the worst one. And, of course, it's my Miami Dolphins. Surprise, surprise. The crossover is over.